and welcome back to another episode of The Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am glad that you tuned in today. We always want to start our segments by thanking our sponsors. So thank you so much to Equity First. If you are experiencing credit and or financial challenges, feel free to reach out to any one of their trained professionals. They are bilingual, nationwide, and ready to take your call. They could be reached at 631-714-4822. And now with that said, we still have in studio with us today, Janine Jaycox, and you are with Divorce and Business Mediation. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. So I know that for those that are tuned in, we just got done speaking all about what happens in the personal divorce space. But what I wanted to do is now focus on the business mediation and the importance of really knowing who you're getting into business with, right? Especially with the market the way that it is right now. You have so many people struggling and they're thinking about, what can I do to supplement my income? So you're sitting around the table, a few people are having a couple of cocktails, and the next thing you know, there's a quasi, agreement in place, and everybody's got this wonderful idea, they're passionate, and they're going to create a business. So let's walk through the pitfalls and protections that you are there for on the business side of things.
So yes, during COVID, I will say a lot of businesses were developed, which is a great thing. Biggest thing you want to do is have your expectations real. Each person that's going to be joining in and be a partner, you want to have full conversations on this is what you expect to do, whose roles are defined. There's usually a person that's great on the finance side. There's usually a person that's great at the task that you're trying to create. Just be straight with each other and define your roles before you get started.
A lot of times when I am meeting with business owners, at least on my side, there's always the one person that's the visionary, right? Just like when you have your little clique of friends that you are with, there's always that one person that's a leader. And I think that what we fail to do is really set the expectation, because I know that I spend a lot of time with my business clients. And over again, we hear the same thing. They're angry because you have that one visionary or the one leader that stands out saying, I'm doing 80% of the work. I don't understand what happened. And more importantly, when you're going into partnership, people are not thinking about what that relationship can do. It's can become ugly, right? And toxic, because it doesn't mean that you have a good friend makes a good partner.
100%. A lot of times you will have that one partner that feels that they're doing way more work, or somebody else's value that they're putting into the business is not as valuable. Each person's role is equally as valuable. The one thing you want to do is you don't want to micromanage the other partner. If somebody I hate the saying, but if you stay in your lane on what you're supposed to do and you keep your tasks focused, you're going to have a successful business. You need to have the education of starting a business, what a business entails. You need to, contact a great accountant. I usually recommend somebody who has not done your personal taxes, somebody that's separate, that neither one of you used. Everything should be objective and new going forward. Not that your previous relationships aren't great, but you want to do clean and clear as much as you can with the business. The other side too is that when one person feels that their sweat equity that they're putting in is worth this much and the person's value on the business side is really not worth as much, that causes conflict. So I just feel like the respect is huge. The expectations have to really be defined. And also 1000% having a great agreement that lays it out. Because without an official contract, friendships can be destroyed over misunderstandings. So in mediation, what we do, whether you're starting a business or you're involved in a business that's having a conflict, it could be with a vendor, an employee, it could be a client. What you want to do is get together in a respectful, neutral environment and go through whatever the topics are. Everybody's is just as important.
So if you have a client that reaches out to you that's already in business, and they reach out and say, Janine, look, we're a small business, there's 3 partners, we're just not getting along, right? Use that as an example. We use the word mediation and business mediation. It almost sounds as if it's, almost like a therapy session, right? People come to me and they'll say to me, I really just almost need somebody to speak with. How often are you able to resolve the problem that they're having where everybody walks out favorably?
Honestly, mediation success rate is between 86 and 90% on business mediations. There were studies that were done in 2018 that shows an average of, like I said, 86 to 90%, which is really good odds. Mediation is wonderful because what it does is it lets the partners understand the issues that the other partner feels or is facing. Sometimes you could think something or just have a misunderstanding in your head that's truly not what the other person was trying to present or have a conflict on. What happens is when we mediate, you get everything exposed, you're able to take item by item and come to a resolution that all the parties involved on are going to have a great agreement and decision-making process.
So you go through the motions, you draft out updated agreements, you have 3 partners that are involved in a business. My question is, who's following up after that's done to make sure that all parties are then doing what they're supposed to do?
So when we draft an agreement, which is binding as well, what we do is that's used kind of like as your Bible. I hate to say it, but that kind of lays out how your business is going to run, the operating expenses, the operating agreements of each person's role. It's really your company's Bible. If somebody falls short of their responsibilities or you feel like there's a conflict, it's something that you can either go back to mediation and say, hey, we're having this issue again. How do we get through this? Or you can always go to court. Court's always your last option. With mediation, it's time saving, it's money saving. Just the cost-effective benefits alone are monumental. And aside from that, just maintaining the relationship. I mean, you don't want to hurt a relationship that you've spent time creating. With your clients, you could work really hard to get like the best cream client that you could dream of, and you could lose it over the most smallest misunderstanding. So our goal is just to always keep everybody in an open frame of mind to discuss what issues are going on. And it is a counseling, for sure.
It does. And I think a lot of what I hear, especially on the business side, is almost lack of communication. People are so focused on either their task or their description that they're not focusing on having open communication with their partners. So it sounds like when somebody goes to mediation and they're reaching out to you for assistance, a lot of times it's that they're just not communicating with one another over somebody's performance.
100%. Communication in any venue is so important, whether it's a divorce or a business. Communication is huge with your clients, making clear, realistic expectations. What happens is if you don't communicate, you can't read the person's mind. You really need each person to be able to have the forum to lay out how they feel. When you have open communications, it makes all those doors open wide. When you're kind of, rushing around, sometimes what happens is businesses get caught in the day-to-day, putting out fires. There's things that they're just not addressing that are really, truly important. Stop, take the time, put the focus on the relationship, and your businesses will run 1,000 times smoother.
Give me an example of maybe one of the biggest challenges that you faced with one of your business clients.
I've had clients that have owned businesses and taken in partners. When someone has been the sole owner and decides to take on partners, there's times that there's some major conflicts that happen because that one person who's ran the business successfully doesn't realize that at one point it wasn't as successful as it should have been, and they needed that partner to come in and kind of revamp. It's a little bit about control. I hate to say that, but
that's okay.
Learning to realize that everybody has a good opinion, a good advice. You can learn something every day, and each partner can learn from one another.
Which I think, again, is super important. And especially where we are in today's market, and we're always focused on where we are today. In today's market, you have a lot of people that are looking at creating new businesses, new opportunities, and new partnerships because they're looking for alternative sources of income, because living here and sustaining your lifestyle on Long Island has become exceptionally challenging. So if you are somebody listening and you are a small business, or you were thinking of forming or dissolving a small business, Janine, how do they find you?
You can reach us at 631-288-8887, as well as all social media platforms. We offer complimentary consultations, and any questions, just feel free to give us a call.
And you say social media platforms. Email, website?
Email. It's divorceandbusinessmediation.com, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook.
Perfect. So you heard it here. So with that said, stay tuned. We have another amazing guest coming up. you.